You're watching Sunrise on KYMA News 11, where news comes first.
Good morning. Welcome back from the weekend. It's Monday, November 26, 2018. I'm Ivany Villalobos.
And I'm Blake Keller. Thanks for joining us on Sunrise this morning. Here's a look at what's ahead at 6 a.m. Mountain Time, 5 Pacific. A showdown at the border. Demonstrations on both sides results in the use of tear gas and port closures. Reaction to the U.S.'s response and also how Mexico is reacting. We'll have that coming up.
Then, after a freak accident, a local military medic speaks out about how he's healing and how it's changed his life since.
Also, officials say the Campfire in California is 100% contained, where the number of people still unaccounted for stands.
Yeah, and also why firefighters say they will never forget battling these flames.
Again, thanks so much for joining us on Sunrise this morning. We'll get to those top stories in just a bit. But first, we're going to check in with Ivany, see how our morning weather's looking to be right now.
All right, well, I can tell you this, that the temperatures will start to cool down. We're going to look at those temperatures reach the 60s. So we're going to start off with the 70s and then get nice and cool.
Are we seeing those as highs? 60s?
As the high 60s,
wow,
yes.
Wow, okay.
So yeah, let's go outside and take a look at that RV World Yuma Skycam and check out what the weather is like for us here in the desert Southwest. So yeah, this morning, after a long weekend, hopefully you guys enjoyed the holidays, but we're back and it's a Monday, everyone. So let's take a look at what that time that sun will rise. We're seeing 7:18 a.m. later this morning. So far, our winds are at 8 north miles per hour, and we couldn't see those winds gust up to as high as 20 miles per hour later today. Right now, our current temperatures in Yuma are at 57 degrees. We're looking at the lower 50s in Blythe and the YPG area, and the upper 40s of 46 for Imperial, 47 in El Centro. Later on for today, the temperatures in the 70s all across the board. So a beautiful day to start off this wonderful week.
6:02 is your time. Developing this morning. First, a major port of entry from Mexico to the U.S. was temporarily shut down Sunday. Yeah, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol suspended all crossings at the largest border checkpoint between San Diego and Tijuana, Mexico. Now, the closures came as around 500 migrants rushed the border. Overwhelmingly federal and local Mexican police blockades. 5,900 troops had been previously deployed to the southern border to prepare for the possible arrival of the migrant caravan. Now, due to demonstrations on both sides of the border, additional personnel were called on. Homeland Security says some participants tried to harm Border Patrol personnel by throwing projectiles. They also say they tried to get through the fence along the border to gain entry. Now, reporters at the scene say U.S. agents then launched tear gas from the California side.
Oh, it was very much an inconvenience. I mean, I waited for about an hour, and there were people there since 11 that waited. So
where are you trying to get to?
I'm trying to get to El Cajon. I'm trying to go home.
Did you see any of the migrants rushing the border?
What I saw is the aftermath. I saw the helicopters. They were finishing with the tear gas.
Was it scary?
Yes, it was very scary. I mean, I just, I cross often, and this is the first time I've just been so afraid that I may just stay in America. No, but I mean, it is what it is.
Well, by Sunday afternoon, CBP reopened northbound and southbound crossing lanes to pedestrians. Officials said that there were 39 arrests by police in Tijuana after demonstrations. No border protection personnel injuries were reported, and Mexican authorities said that those arrested will be deported to their home countries. Well, a new report suggests the incoming Mexican government is okay with the Trump administration's proposed border policy on asylum seekers. The Washington Post, citing Mexican officials, said senior members of the Mexican president-elect's transition team reports the incoming Mexican government supports the policy called Remain in Mexico. The proposal requires asylum seekers at the southern border to remain in Mexico while their claims are being processed. Now, current U.S. policy allows asylum seekers to remain in the U.S. while their applications are being processed. President Trump has been an outspoken critic of that current policy. Now, new this morning, the overwhelming presence of the migrant caravan is also being felt locally. Yuma's Sector Border Patrol says that they were looking for a man who illegally crossed the border near the Andrade port of entry. Now, the 31-year-old Honduran national scaled a tree, set it on fire, then started throwing rocks at agents and a CBP air pilot. Agents were able to take him into custody, and Border Patrol says he claimed to be part of the migrant caravan. A records check showed the man has several previous arrests in Florida and was deported in June. He's now facing removal proceedings.
Well, a recently released report says Arizona ranked 5th in the nation for the number of immigration laws enacted over the past decade. Now, the report comes from a Washington, D.C. think tank, the Bipartisan Policy Center. They found Arizona passed 86 immigration laws from 2005 to 2017. California came in first on the list, passing 216 immigration laws in that period. Now, the report found 20% of those laws dealt with identification, while 18% related to law enforcement. Now, the report also shows a Democratic-led legislature passes laws extending benefits to non-citizens, while Republican-led legislature passed more enforcement laws. The group is calling on newly elected officials to use this data to better work across the aisle.
Well, the campfire in Northern California is now 100% contained. Butte County officials made the announcement Sunday morning. The campfire started November 8th near the town of Pulga. It killed at least 85 people and is now considered to be California's deadliest fire. It scorched more than 153,000 acres, roughly the size of Chicago. Some 249 people are still unaccounted for. More than 500 commercial buildings and more than 13,000 homes were destroyed, mostly in the town of Paradise. Fire crews spent nearly 3 weeks on the front lines of the campfire. Now they're back home and sharing stories.
The Folsom strike team arrived at the campfire Thursday afternoon, just as the blaze was tearing through town.
Basically, our primary mission was evacuations and rescue.
As the flames bore down, the Folsom crew made several daring rescues, but soon found themselves cut off and needing to make a quick escape.
We were able to kind of save ourselves, so to speak, and in that process, we found some other people that were trapped by debris, trees, wires, etc. We assisted in getting them out, and then ultimately we made our retreat all the way back down.
Using every available means.
We put them in our truck, in our fire engines. There were other civilians that were coming down. We were able to flag them down.
At the same time, nearby, a Sacramento strike team was moving towards Paradise. Their mission to save structures in a town already ablaze.
When you roll into town and Safeway is on fire, and when McDonald's is gone, and everything around it is gone, that day I knew it was a big one and we're going to be here for a while.
With limited resources, the Sacramento crew saved house after house, but it's the ones they couldn't protect that they'll remember the most.
When I turn around and have to walk away from a house, and I look at that house, I'm like, this is someone's retirement home, and everything they have in it is inside that house, and there's nothing I can do with it.
Both crews say the people of Paradise were grateful, reaching out however they could to offer thanks. Selfless gestures from people who themselves have lost so much.
I've been out on other strike teams before, and wildland fires before, nothing like this.
And then you throw on top of the number of life lost this close to holidays, it does leave an impact on you.
Now these scorched towns will now start to rebuild. So to help, Arizona Public Service is sending crews to California to restore power following these devastating fires. APS officials say at least 20,000 people were without power, and crews will repair large transmission lines and try to bring back power to gas stations, grocery stores, and schools.
And obviously I spent an entire career as a firefighter and then coming to APS. It's really great to be a part of an organization that really just steps up when people are in need and have the ability and the resources to respond and help out. So it's important to me as well.
APS says they expect to send 20 more crew members by the start of December. All crew members are expected to be home for the holidays.
Well, more than 24 soldiers of the Arizona National Guard said their goodbyes to loved ones before heading out to a 9-month deployment overseas. It's part of the 158th Military Engagement Team Detachment 1. Specific details aren't available, but what we do know is that the soldiers will take part in training and also will be deployed to the Middle East.
Well, new this morning, there are not many who may remember the morning of September 17th as vividly as one local man.
Yeah, News 11's Ariana Shell followed with him on his road to recovery from a life-changing accident and how fellow wounded military men and women can get the resources that they need.
Yeah, she joins us live in the studio this morning to bring us his story. Ariana.
Good morning, Blake and Ivany. Now 27-year-old Emmanuel Rosario is a hospital corpsman in the U.S. Navy and has been for 9 years. Today, he carries the memories of an accident that changed his life forever.
At about 7 a.m. on September 17th, Rosario had just hung up the phone with his wife with plans to meet for lunch. He was driving to the military base when a truck driver began to turn into the intersection of 12th Street and Avenue 5.5E towards Rosario.
He started turning his wheels at the intersection, then he started cutting in front of me. You know, at that moment it was just either, hey, do I crash him directly or do I try to swerve and avoid him?
Rosario said it all happened quickly. A 4-inch steel pipe pierced his vehicle and stuck out both sides, impaling and pinning Rosario. But his intuition of his medical experience kicked in. One of the construction workers offered up his phone to Rosario so he could make a call no husband ever wants to make.
One of them actually took their phones out and dialed my wife's number, and I got to speak to her. You know, at that moment I wasn't sure was I going to live or not. So I just wanted to say my final few words.
2 months later, Rosario says he is grateful for his life and thankful for support from family, especially his wife.
Every time she got away from the baby, she would just stay up by my side, and so I definitely had the support there, and a lot of it was to my wife, and she just wouldn't leave by my side. So I'll forever be grateful for that and thankful.
Rosario says his tendency to be calm and collected helped him get over the hardest times.
My thing for people would be, you go through things, but you have two choices. You either quit or you keep moving, and that's where I see myself.
The Navy Wounded Warriors is a program that aids servicemen and women and their families like Rosario. He urges people who may be in his situation to seek resources such as Navy Wounded Warriors.
In a situation where you're injured, don't push people away, be open to advice. The moment sucks, but if your mindset is open to healing, then you will overcome it, and that will just be a chapter in your life.
If you or a loved one is military personnel seeking help, you can get more information on the Navy Wounded Warriors at their website, NavyWoundedWarriors.com. To hear more about Emmanuel's story, you can also visit our website at KYMA.com. Reporting live in the studio, I'm Ariana Shell, News 11. Back to you, Blake and Ivany.
All right, Ariana, thank you so much for that story this morning. 6:12 is your time, so have you entered for Firehouse Fridays? Each Friday during the show, we will announce the winner of a Firehouse Subs catering platter. Now, all you have to do to win is enter at KYMA.com.
All right, we'll still ahead on to Sunrise in your News 11 Helpline Report. CBD is being used more and more in the medical world. How one woman is using it in a pretty interesting way, we'll show you still to come.
And also on Sunrise, beautiful temperatures to expect as we continue into this week. What we can expect as we begin the work week later on in our show.